both in research and in practice, this tendency to focus on the walking environment, say, the footpath, we're going to fix the footpath. And I think the outcome of the study is actually it doesn't matter if driving is really convenient. You can fix this footpath all you want. Maybe the person is not even going to notice it because driving is convenient and they are driving. So that was the for me the interesting thing, to put walking, one, to connect it with public transport, and two, to put it within the broader transport system. And I also found it quite exciting to test machine learning, because I think it can really be powerful for studies such as transport planning or those kind of surveys, where in my case a lot of the variables were there were correlation between a lot of variables. So with classical methods you can't really, you are in a bit in a difficulty, and this was just a good way to consider everything and to ask a more open question of what matters, if anything.
I think it's really interesting that, because I go through this myself. Like if I had to put myself within your survey and think about the amount of time that I walk versus drive versus bus, it's really complex. Even just coming to get to this interview here, there's the element of time, how long it takes to walk from point A to point B versus how long it would have taken me to walk to the bus stop and get on the bus and get here, which is what I did, versus the reliability of, walking from point A to point B. You're not relying on the bus timetable, right? Unless something terrible happens, my walk to get here is only time-wise dependent on how long it takes me to walk whatever that distance is. There's some times where I think, walking is free, and the bus, while, only say $2, over the amount of times that I would get on a bus in a week, $2 adds up. And then, I don't drive that much, but there are times where I do those calculations in my head, but then you introduce some other factor like rain, wind, it's winter, it's all very well to have the most beautiful walk that gets you from point A to point B, but if it's pouring with rain, that influences whether people are interested in being outside. And I just think it makes so much sense when you present the case that walking has to be considered within a whole transport system, and it's not as simple as saying, can we make the streets really enjoyable to walk on? You have to consider it against everything else. Yeah,
and also in a broader sense. I mean, so I developed throughout the project, the PhD, I developed this model, and in the end I broke it, so to say, because I really, there is one piece of research that says that modal choice is the result of the messiness of everyday life, and I do think we are human, we are complex. It's really, we cannot expect to predict someone's behaviors. Maybe as you said, it rains. Maybe you have you've bought a new microwave and you don't want to carry it, or a whole range, or you have your child with you and it's just too complicated. So I abandon the idea of predicting someone's choice, but I use it as a model of non-walkability, saying, well, I'm not really interested in predicting someone's choice, but I'm really interested in better understanding what are those things that are deal breakers. And I think that for me as a transport professional, I need to be able to say what the deal breakers are, and I think that the transport profession needs to fix the deal breakers. And then messiness of everyday life will happen, people will be people, they will make choices, but I think our responsibility is to remove those things that just make choices impossible.
Which I think is a really fascinating mindset shift. It's not about how can you make something as, I guess it is, how can you make something as appealing as possible, but it's more about how can you remove as many things as possible that will guarantee or make it very likely that someone will choose not to walk somewhere, which I think it feels sort of negative, or I feel like there would be some people that would approach walkability and city planning and think, how can we make this experience as nice as possible? And while it's tied to barriers, because it's two sides of a coin, as you say, it's more about, well, you can't, everyone is different. It's so individualistic the way people move around cities, whether it's Auckland or anywhere else. People are so diverse. You're never going to be able to make everyone the same and therefore they will fit the platform
yeah.
of walking. But what you can identify is what are the things that are definitely stopping people from walking. And this very helpfully takes us into the element of your PhD, which is about barriers to walking. And could you talk us through, I guess, some of the later studies that were more focused on this idea of barriers, and what did you find about the kind of concrete pillars? I guess they could be literal concrete pillars or metaphorical concrete pillars that make people choose to not walk somewhere, and the diversity of experience that interacts with.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, that was a bit of a light bulb moment, thinking, well, I don't think that the perfectly walkable exists.
Yeah.
Because even for you, if you were to think of what's perfectly walkable, maybe what's perfectly walkable today would not be the exact same as tomorrow.
Thanks for watching this episode preview from Season 3 of PhD Unpacked. For full episodes, find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other listening platforms. And for more content and tidbits, check out PhD Unpacked on TikTok and Instagram.